When you've been in this town as long as I have, you get to learn a thing or two. People think this business is about money. Wrong. It's about power. The power to make careers. The power to build empires. The power to walk into a courtroom charged with buggery, and walk out with a fine for tailgating. That's power. It was the 1st of August 1981. I wake up and feel something sticky. I look down and see my waist is covered in partially licked whipped cream and my underpants are nowhere in sight. A cocktail waitress winks at me as she throws me a dressing gown. It was a hell of a party. I arrived earlier that day dressed in my best Savile Row suit. If there's one way to stand out at a party, it's to make sure I look the proper English gentleman that I am, dignified and refined. The door was answered by that tart from Dukes of Hazzard. Bloody hell, she had some melons on her. All the power couples were there as well, Jack and Angie, Mick and Jerry, Michael and Bubbles. In a place like this I had one job and one job only, to score and get as many contacts as I can. With my little black book safely in my pocket, I got to work. The first bird I saw was that cute redhead called Molly, but my damn pen had no ink. Luckily my old mate Richie Pryor was on hand and lent me his. He always had a beautiful way of using the N-word to describe just about anything. Here honky, use this N-word right here. Next thing I knew, he and Molly had disappeared and I was left holding his N-word. Anyway, after a quick visit to the powder room I got to work. Phone numbers, addresses, measurements. I got them all. Need a buxom brunette for your next picture? Call me. Want to know Kathleen Turner's inside leg? Call me. Want to do blow with the cast of Happy Days? Well, that's your own business. Feeling satisfied with myself, I went to fix myself a drink and felt a pinch in my buttocks. I turned around and it was the Playmate of the month. She asked me, how does a girl like her get to enter show business? I said, simple. For a guy like me to enter a girl like her. Some people like to say opportunity knocks. I say opportunity has knockers. If anyone was keeping track that night, then I scored more than a Warren Beatty wet dream. After another quick visit to the powder room, I had a message from Spielberg that he was making another sci-fi flick, something about a friendly alien. I tried to convince him to put a few college girls in there, but he said it would be nothing like that. For the time being he was focusing on getting the alien to look just right. So I said, fine. What does this thing look like? He said, wrinkly. I said, how wrinkly? So he faxed over a few sketches. This thing looked like my granddad's penis. I said, who's your target market, my nan? I told him I wanted nothing to do with it, and much like my granddad's penis, it was bound to flop. After a heady mix of cocktails and pills, I passed out in one of the armchairs. It was then that I woke up in my own mess with the waitress winking at me. She'd already been winking at me several times throughout the evening. I figured either she was allergic to smoke, or she was the one that licked my bagpipes. But that wasn't my main concern. Not only were my clothes missing, but so was my notebook. I was mortified. A whole night's work just up and vanished. I had to get it. Not only because it had everyone's phone number, but I also had drawn illustrations of what they were willing to do on the casting couch. Pam Grier alone took up 3 pages. If it got into the wrong hands, well, the gentleman with my reputation would be ruined. I had to get it back. I just had to. After searching and searching, I ended up in the kitchen and tripped over something on the floor. Rather, someone. It was none other than Stallone. He was in his Speedos doing push-ups over a prone Debbie Harry. She giggled as he heaved his slimy body back and forth, like a giant muscular slug trying to crawl up a flight of stairs. He told me he was getting in shape for a third Rocky movie. That wanker. I told him if his ego is now that big, he might as well commission a statue of himself and stick it where the sun don't shine. He told me acting is hard. I said, you just bloody make it look that way. I called him a wanker again, and then asked Debbie if she'd seen my clothes. Once she stopped singing "Call Me" for the 100th time, she pointed me in the direction of the patio. I pushed my way past a crowd of bassheads and losers from Studio 54, and finally found my way to the patio. And there it was. I found my suit draped across a naked blonde, draped across a naked Richie Pryor, draped across another naked blonde. I searched the pocket and found my book, but the pages were blank. What on earth? I didn't understand. Was this a replica? Had someone replaced it, or had I simply hallucinated the whole evening? I tried to wake Rich, but he told me to go suck myself. Then one of the blondes said, "Hey, you didn't use his pen, did you? He uses disappearing ink as a joke. Pretty funny, hee hee. If it was anyone else I could have killed him there and then. Instead I left a message with the blonde. When he wakes up, tell him I'm casting that kid from SNL in my next feature." She asked me what it's called. I picked up my clothes, headed for the door, and turned around one last time. Beverly Hills Cop, sweetheart. Beverly Hills Cop.